My name is Alina Hayes. I am 62 years old, and until 3 months ago, I believed I had built a life that could never be taken from me. I was wrong. It started on a quiet Tuesday morning in Seattle. The kind of morning where the rain taps softly against the windows, like it's trying not to disturb your thoughts. I had just returned from visiting my sister in Portland. A short trip, nothing unusual. But when I opened my front door, something felt off. Not broken, not messy, just empty. At first, I couldn't understand what I was looking at. The living room looked clean, almost too clean. The antique oak table, gone. The velvet armchair my husband loved, gone. Even the small ceramic vase that had sat on the windowsill for 20 years had vanished. I stood there, suitcase still in my hand, trying to make sense of it. Then my heart dropped. No. I rushed into the hallway. The walls were bare. The family photos gone. Every memory, every frame, every piece of my life erased. I stumbled into the bedroom, my breath shaking. The wardrobe doors were open, half my clothes missing. The jewelry box empty. That's when the truth hit me. This wasn't a burglary. This was personal, very personal. The only person with a key, there was only one person who had access to my house while I was away. My daughter, Claire, 34 years old, smart, beautiful, and lately distant. I pulled out my phone with trembling hands and called her. She answered on the third ring. Hey, Mom. Her voice was casual, too casual. Claire, my voice cracked. Where are you? I'm at home. Why? I swallowed hard. Did you come to my house while I was gone? There was a pause, just 1 second, but it was enough. Yes, the word felt like a knife. Why? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. Claire, where is everything? Another silence. Then she sighed. Mom, don't overreact. Overreact. I looked around my empty house, my chest tightening. Overreact. Claire, my home is empty. I sold some things, she said, almost impatiently. Some things. I felt the ground shift beneath me. Some things, I repeated. Claire, you didn't sell some things. You sold my life. It's just stuff, Mom, she snapped. You're being dramatic. Just stuff. The words echoed in my head like a cruel joke. That stuff was my husband's watch, the one he wore every day until cancer took him 5 years ago. That stuff was the dining table where we celebrated birthdays, anniversaries where we laughed. That stuff was my life. The truth comes out, why would you do this? I asked, my voice breaking completely now. She hesitated again. Then finally, I needed the money. For what? Another pause, then she said it. I invested in a business opportunity. I closed my eyes. What kind of business? It's a startup. My friend Jason is running it. It's going to be huge, Mom. I just needed capital to get in early. My stomach twisted. How much did you get? I asked quietly. Around $80,000. $80,000. For a moment, I couldn't breathe. Claire, I whispered, you sold everything for $80,000. It's not everything, she said defensively. And it's an investment. I'll make it back 10 times over. I let out a hollow laugh. You sold your father's memories, I said slowly, for a gamble. It's not a gamble. It is when you steal to fund it. The line went silent. Then her voice turned cold. I didn't steal. I'm your daughter. That doesn't give you the right to take what isn't yours. I'll pay you back, she said quickly. Once the business takes off, I'll return every penny. But it wasn't about the money. It was never about the money. You can't buy back memories, Claire. A mother's breaking point. I don't remember hanging up the phone. I just remember sitting on the floor of my empty living room, surrounded by absence. The silence was unbearable. Every corner of the house used to hold a story. Now it held nothing. I thought about calling the police. I should have. Anyone else would have. But she was my daughter. The same little girl who used to run into my arms after school. The same girl who cried when her father got sick. The same girl I thought I knew. So instead of calling the police, I made a decision that would change everything. The decision if Claire thought she could take my life apart and walk away like it meant nothing. She was about to learn the true value of what she had done. Because there was one thing she didn't know. One thing she never paid attention to. one thing she definitely didn't sell. And that one thing was worth far more than $80,000. I didn't sleep that night, not even for a minute. I sat on the cold wooden floor of what used to be my living room, staring at the empty space where my husband's chair once stood. The silence wasn't just quiet, it was loud, accusing, heavy. Claire's words kept replaying in my mind. "It's just stuff, Mom." No, it was. And deep down, I knew something she didn't. Something she had completely overlooked. The safe she never noticed. There was a reason I never kept all my valuables out in the open. My late husband, Richard, had always been cautious. Years before he passed, he installed a small, hidden safe in the house. Not behind a painting, not under the floor, but somewhere far simpler, somewhere no one would ever think to look. The laundry room, behind an old, rusted panel that looked like it hadn't been touched in decades. Claire had always hated doing laundry. She avoided that room like it was cursed. Even as a teenager, she'd throw her clothes near the door and walk away. So of course, she never found it. Opening the past, I stood up slowly, my legs stiff, and walked toward the back of the house. The laundry room door creaked as I pushed it open. Everything in there was untouched. Dust still rested on the shelves. The faint smell of detergent lingered in the air. It was the only place in the house that still felt mine. My hands trembled as I knelt beside the old panel. For a moment, I hesitated, not because I was unsure, but because I knew once I opened that safe, there would be no going back. I slid the panel aside. There it was, cold steel, silent. I entered the code, Richard's birthday. The lock clicked. And just like that, the past opened. What was inside the safe were three things: a stack of documents, a small velvet box, and a sealed envelope. I reached for the documents first. Property papers, investment records, bank statements, all in my name. Over the years, Richard and I had built something quietly. Carefully, we never showed it off. Never spoke about it, not even to Claire. Not because we didn't trust her, but because we wanted her to build her own life, not depend on ours. The total value was just over $1.2 million. I closed my eyes. Claire had sold my memories for $80,000 without realizing she had just betrayed the person who owned everything. The velvet box next. I picked up the velvet box. I already knew what was inside. Richard's watch, but not the one Claire sold. This one was different. This one was the original, the heirloom, passed down from his grandfather. The one he never wore outside. The one he once told me, "If anything ever happens, this is your security." I opened the box slowly. The watch gleamed softly under the dim light, untouched. Priceless. The letter finally, I looked at the envelope. My name was written on it, in Richard's handwriting. My heart stopped. I hadn't seen this before. With shaking hands, I opened it. Inside was a letter, short, simple, but powerful enough to break me all over again. "Alina, if you're reading this, it means I'm no longer there to protect you, and for that, I'm sorry. I know how much you love Claire, and I know how much you trust her, but love doesn't always mean safety. Even the people we raise can make choices we never expected. That's why I kept this separate. Not to hide it from her, but to protect you from a moment that might come. If that moment ever arrives, don't ignore it. Don't excuse it. Hold your ground. Because you deserve respect, not just love." Richard, the moment everything changed by the time I finished reading, tears were streaming down my face. Not loud, not dramatic, just quiet, steady pain. He knew. Somehow, years ago, he knew this day might come, and I ignored every sign, every distance, every change in Claire, because I was her mother, because I believed love was enough, but Richard was right. Love without respect becomes weakness. A new decision, I carefully placed everything back into the safe, but this time, I didn't feel broken. I felt something else. Clarity. For the first time since I walked into that empty house, I wasn't thinking like a victim. I was thinking like someone who had nothing left to lose. Claire thought she could fix everything by paying me back. She thought this was about money. She was wrong. This was about consequences. And for the first time in her life, she was going to face them. The call that changed everything, I picked up my call Claire. I dialed someone else. My name is Alina Hayes, I said calmly when the line connected. I'd like to report a theft. There was a pause on the other end. Ma'am, can you tell me who the suspect is? I closed my eyes for a brief moment. Then I said the words that shattered whatever was left of my old life. Yes, it's my daughter. The officer arrived within 20 minutes. His name was Daniel Carter. Mid-40s, calm voice, the kind of presence that made things feel official the moment he stepped inside. Or rather, stepped into what was left. He paused just inside the doorway, scanning the empty room. Ma'am, he said carefully, you weren't exaggerating. I gave a faint, tired smile. I wish I had been. Telling the truth out loud, we sat at my kitchen counter. One of the few things Claire hadn't taken, probably because it was bolted into the floor. As I listed everything that was missing, I noticed something strange. Saying it out loud hurt more than seeing it. The dining table, antique. My husband bought it 25 years ago. He nodded, writing. The paintings, family photographs, jewelry. My voice faltered. The watch. Do you have an estimated value of the total loss? He asked gently. I took a breath. Roughly $80,000. He looked up. And you're certain who took the items? Yes. Your daughter, I nodded. Even now, saying it didn't feel real. The question that matters, Officer Carter leaned back slightly, studying me. Mrs. Hayes, I need to ask you something clearly. I met his eyes. Do you want to press charges? The question hung in the air like a final warning. Once I said yes, there would be no undoing it. This wasn't just a family argument anymore. This was law. This was record. This was consequence. I thought about Claire as a child, her first day of school. The way she used to hold my hand tightly when she was scared. Then I thought about my empty house, my missing memories, my husband's letter. Hold your ground. I looked back at the officer. Yes, the call she wasn't ready for Claire didn't know yet, but she was about to. Officer Carter asked me to call her and ask her to come over. Casual, normal, nothing suspicious. My fingers hesitated over her contact. Then I pressed call. She answered quickly this time. Mom, Claire, I said, keeping my voice steady. Can you come over? We need to talk. A pause. About what? Just come. Another pause. Fine, I'll be there in 30. Waiting those 30 minutes felt longer than the entire night before. The officer stood quietly near the window, giving me space but never leaving. I sat still, not crying, not shaking, just waiting. Something inside me had shifted. The fear was gone. The guilt was fading. All that remained was truth. The arrival when Claire walked in, she looked annoyed. Not worried, not apologetic, annoyed. Mom, I have a meeting in an hour, so whatever this is, she stopped. Her eyes landed on Officer Carter, and everything changed. What's going on? She asked sharply. I didn't answer. The officer stepped forward. Claire Hayes. Yes, I'm Officer Carter. We need to talk about some items removed from this property. Her face went pale. She turned to me. Mom, what is this? I held her gaze. You know exactly what it is. Denial comes first. This is ridiculous, she snapped, turning back to the officer. I didn't steal anything. I'm her daughter. Ma'am, Officer Carter said calmly, your mother has reported a theft totaling approximately $80,000. Claire laughed, actually laughed. Reported. Are you serious? She looked at me like I had betrayed her. Mom, this is insane. No, I said quietly. What you did was insane. The excuses begin. I told you I'm going to pay you back, she said, her voice rising. This is just temporary. You sold things that didn't belong to you. They do belong to me. I'm your daughter. The words hit harder this time. Not because they were loud, but because they were entitled. Cold, wrong. No, I said firmly. They don't. The truth about the business, Officer Carter stepped in. Ma'am, can you tell me where the proceeds from the sales went? Claire hesitated. Then said, into an investment. What kind of investment? It's a startup. What's the company name? Silence. Her confidence cracked for the first time. It's new. Do you have documentation? Not with me. I watched her carefully. For the first time, I saw it, not confidence, not ambition, fear. The collapse begins, Claire, I said softly. How well do you know this Jason? Her head snapped toward me. Well enough. How long? A few months. I closed my eyes briefly. A few months, and you trusted him with everything you stole from me. I didn't steal $80,000, Claire. She went quiet. The moment she realized Officer Carter spoke again, more serious now. Ma'am, based on what we have so far, this is a case of unlawful removal and sale of property. If funds were transferred under false pretenses, there may also be fraud involved. Claire's face lost all color. Wait, no, this is just a misunderstanding. You'll need to come with me to sort this out. Her breathing quickened. Mom, she said, turning to me, her voice suddenly small. Mom, tell him. Tell him this is just a family issue. I looked at her, really looked at her. And for the first time, I didn't see my little girl. I saw someone who made a choice and expected no consequences. The line that couldn't be crossed back, this stopped being a family issue, I said quietly. The moment you decided I didn't matter. Her eyes filled with tears. Mom, please. I felt my heart break again. But this time, I didn't let it change my decision. Claire didn't fight when Officer Carter asked her to come along, but she didn't accept it either. She stood there, frozen, her eyes locked on mine like she was waiting, hoping I would stop everything, that I would say it was a mistake, that I would take it all back. I didn't. The walk to the door, Mom, please, she whispered, her voice trembling now. Don't do this. I felt it, that pull. That instinct every mother has, to protect, to shield, to forgive before being asked. But then I remembered the empty walls, the missing photographs, the silence where my life used to be. I'm not doing this to you, I said quietly. You did this to yourself. Her face crumpled. And just like that, the illusion of control she had been holding onto shattered. The ride as she walked out with Officer Carter, she turned back one last time. Her eyes were full of something I hadn't seen in years. Fear. Real fear. Not of me, not of the situation, but of what was coming next. Because deep down, she knew something wasn't right. The first crack in the story, 3 hours later, my phone rang. It was Officer Carter. Mrs. Hayes, he said, his tone more serious than before. We've started going through your daughter's statements. I held my breath. And there are inconsistencies. My stomach tightened. What kind of inconsistencies? A lot of the details about this business don't add up. I wasn't surprised, but hearing it confirmed still hurt. The name that didn't exist, what about the company? I asked. We checked, he said. There's no registered business under the name she provided. Silence filled my end of the line. No company. No records, nothing, just a story. Following the money, we're tracking the transaction now, he continued. She transferred most of the money to an individual. Jason, I asked. Yes. But here's the problem. I gripped the phone tighter. That name doesn't match the account holder. A chill ran through me. What does that mean? It means your daughter may have sent the money to someone using a false identity. The reality hits. I sat down slowly. Are you saying she was scammed? There was a pause. Yes, one word, but it carried everything. The illusion of control. Claire thought she was making a smart investment. She thought she was stepping into something bigger, faster, more exciting than the life she had. But in reality, she wasn't an investor. She was a target, carefully chosen, carefully manipulated, and now everything was gone. The interrogation room later that evening, I was asked to come down to the station. I didn't want to, but I knew I had to. When I saw Claire again, she looked different, smaller, not physically, but emotionally, like something inside her had collapsed. Her confidence was gone, replaced by something fragile. Mom, she said softly when she saw me. I didn't respond right away. The truth comes out, they told me, she said, her voice shaking. There's no company. I nodded. I know. Tears filled her eyes. I thought it was real. I studied her face. And for the first time since all this began, I believed her. Not the decisions, not the actions, but the regret. How it happened, he said he believed in me, she whispered. He said I had potential. She looked down. No, of course not, because it wasn't about logic. It was about emotion, validation, ego, the hardest truth. I wanted to prove something, she said quietly. To who? She hesitated, then answered honestly. To you. The words hit deeper than anything else. I didn't want to be the daughter who needed help, she continued. I wanted to be the one who made it, who made you proud. I took a slow breath. And you thought stealing from me would do that? Her silence answered for her. The consequences don't disappear. Officer Carter stepped in again. Claire, based on everything we have, the financial loss is real. But that doesn't change how the money was obtained. Her face tightened. What does that mean? It means you're still responsible for the unlawful sale of your mother's property. Tears rolled down her cheeks. But I don't even have the money anymore. I understand, he said calmly. But actions still have consequences. A mother's final test. She turned to me again. Mom, please, she whispered. I made a mistake, a huge mistake, but I didn't mean for any of this to happen. I looked at her, at the fear, at the regret, at the broken version of the person she used to be. And I realized something important. This was the moment that would define both of us. The choice: I could step in, I could soften things, I could try to protect her from what was coming. Or I could finally do what should have been done a long time ago. Hold her accountable, not out of anger, but out of truth. I took a deep breath and made my decision. The room was silent. Not the kind of silence that feels calm. The kind that feels heavy, final. Claire's eyes stayed locked on mine, searching, begging for something. Mercy, rescue, a way out. But this wasn't about saving her anymore. This was about truth. The decision. I took a slow breath. Claire, I said quietly, I love you. Her face softened instantly, hope flickering in her eyes. But love doesn't erase what you've done. That hope shattered just as quickly. Tears slipped down her cheeks. Mom, please. I shook my head gently. You didn't just make a mistake, I continued. You made a series of choices, and every one of them led you here. I know, she whispered. I know, you thought there wouldn't be consequences. She couldn't argue with that. Because it was true. Holding the line, I turned to Officer Carter. I'm not withdrawing the report. Claire let out a broken sound, half sob, half disbelief. Mom, no. I felt my chest tighten. Every instinct inside me screamed to take it back, to protect her, to fix it. But I remembered Richard's words. Hold your ground. So I did. The legal outcome, the process wasn't instant. It took weeks, interviews, paperwork, court dates. And through it all, I watched my daughter face something she had never truly experienced before: accountability. Because Claire had no prior record, and because she cooperated fully, the court showed some leniency, but not forgiveness. She was charged with unlawful sale of property. The sentence: restitution. She would have to repay the full value of what she sold. Probation: 2 years under strict supervision. Financial monitoring: every major transaction reviewed. And the hardest part, she had to rebuild everything from zero. The scam that took everything. As for the money, gone, completely gone. The man she trusted, Jason, was part of a larger fraud network. They had done this before, many times. Different names, different victims, same result. Hope turned into loss. The police tried to trace it further, but cases like these rarely end with recovery. Once the money disappears, it disappears for good. The distance between us months passed. The house slowly began to feel like a home again, but not the same one. Some things were replaced. Most weren't, because some things can't be replaced. Claire and I didn't speak much during that time, not out of anger, but because we were both learning something difficult. How to exist in a new reality. The first step back. One evening, there was a knock at my door. When I opened it, she was standing there. No makeup, no confidence, no excuses, just Claire. I got a job, she said quietly. I nodded. That's good. It's not big, she added. It's just a small office position. That's where most people start. She gave a weak, almost embarrassed smile. I should have started there too. A different kind of growth over time. I saw the change. Not fast, not dramatic, but you don't earn it, you don't understand it. I looked at her. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't see the girl who broke my trust. I saw someone rebuilding herself. The final lesson, we never fully went back to how things were. Some wounds don't disappear, but they do change. They become reminders, boundaries, lessons, and maybe that's enough. The truth about value, Claire once said, it's just stuff. But she learned something the hard way. Value isn't always in price. It's in meaning, in memory, in trust. And once those things are broken, they cost far more than money to rebuild. Epilogue, as for me, I still live in that same